In the 3rd year of King Jehoiakim's reign over Judah, as the sun dipped low behind the walls of Jerusalem, a shadow rose upon the horizon. Not a storm, but an empire. Babylon, mighty, ruthless, relentless, had come to claim dominion. Walls crumbled, streets burned, the holy temple was pillaged, sacred vessels seized, royal sons bound in chains, dragged across deserts toward a land unknown.
Bring the noble ones! Bind them tight!
Thief taken the vessels, may the Lord remember.
Among the captives walked a young man, his name Daniel. He did not yet know, but the destiny written for him would echo through empires and eternity.
Lord, I am far from your house, but I am not far from your presence.
This is no mere tale of kings and kingdoms. It is not only the account of a prophet in a royal court. It is a warning. Some believe Daniel saw his own age. Others believe he saw ours. And if what was sealed for centuries is about to be fulfilled, then the wise will understand. One kingdom's fall, and empires rise, one voice will still speak for heaven. Jerusalem was behind them now, the city of God burning, the songs of Zion silenced, the holy vessels stolen, carried away by foreign hands. But the faith was not lost. Among those who were chained and broken, a few still remembered. Young, unknown, and unarmed, but not destroyed. Daniel walked in silence, the sand biting his feet. He said nothing, but in his heart he whispered,
If we must live in exile, let us live as sons of the king.
And then they saw it, the golden city, Babylon. Its towers rose high into the clouds. Its walls swallowed up the horizon. Its gods watch from every gate. It promises power, wisdom, and glory, but at a price. Choose their food, speak their language, bow to their gods. Will they forget? Will they fit in? Or will they dare to be different? A new chapter begins, where names are changed, where faith is tested, and where silence can be louder than words. Next, the king's banquet awaits. The 3rd year of King Jehoiakim's reign had barely begun when a sound like distant thunder rolled across the horizon. From the east, like a gathering storm, came an empire with fire in its eyes, Babylon, the greatest and most feared kingdom of the age. The people of Jerusalem looked up to see dust rising beyond the hills. Alarm bells rang from the city walls. Trumpets blared. Soldiers shouted. Panic erupted. But it was too late. Babylon was already here. The gates of the holy city shattered under iron and flame. Streets once filled with prayers now echoed with screams. The temple, the house of the Lord, was plundered without mercy. Golden vessels, sacred treasures, holy relics, all carried away to be offered to foreign gods. But Babylon did not only steal wealth, they came to conquer minds. Not just swords and spears, but wisdom, language, and identity.
Choose the best of Israel's youth, wise, strong, and quick to understand. Take them to my palace. Teach them the ways of Babylon, so they may forget their God, their traditions, their tongue, and serve my kingdom."
Followed by screams in the street.
Take your brother and run. Go.
Seize the young ones! Bind them!
The holy vessels, they're taking them. May the Lord remember his covenant.
Where are they taking us?
Wherever they lead our bodies, our hearts will not follow.
From the ashes of Jerusalem, the Babylonian captors led away a line of prisoners, young, noble, and bound for exile. These were not ordinary captives. They were the sons of Israel's royalty and nobles, trained in the law of the Lord, raised in the fear of God. Now, dragged across the burning sands of a foreign desert, their futures uncertain. Tears had dried. Families were lost. Names would be changed. But in their hearts, a silent vow had been made.
What ye belong to the God of our fathers. Even if the world changes, we will not.
Among them, 4 names shone like stars in a dark sky: Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. They did not know what awaited them in Babylon, what trials, what temptations. But even in their youth, they carried something Babylon could not steal: faith. During that desert journey, they still talked together about faith and belief in God.
It feels like we've walked 1,000 miles.
And yet, the Lord walked with Israel through the wilderness. He will walk with us too.
Do you think God is still with us?
He is. We may have left Jerusalem, but he has not left us.
At night, by the campfire, Daniel still whispers a prayer.
Lord of Abraham, you who brought Joseph into Egypt and raised him up, let us be like him, faithful even in the courts of kings.
The desert winds howled behind them. The smoke of Jerusalem faded into memory, and before them rose the heart of the empire, Babylon, a city unlike anything they had seen. Golden towers pierced the sky. Palaces stretched wide like wings of power. The air shimmered with music, incense, and pride. It was beautiful and dangerous. To the world, Babylon was a wonder. To these young men, it was a battlefield of the soul. They would be given new names, new language, new customs. Every day, the empire would whisper, "Forget who you were, become one of us." But they remembered. They remembered the songs of Zion. They remembered the voice of their mothers, whispering prayers at night. They remembered the law, the prophets, the God who never sleeps. And in the midst of golden idols and foreign gods, 4 young men whispered a vow in their hearts. "One may live in Babylon, but Babylon will never live in us." Their test had only just begun. As the gates of Babylon opened, the world transformed before their eyes. Massive golden statues lined the streets. Towers reached toward heaven. Hanging gardens floated like dreams in the sky. Here, power reigned. The 4 youths from Judah were brought into the heart of it all, the palace of King Nebuchadnezzar. They were not imprisoned, no chains, no cells. Instead, they were offered robes, food, education, and a new future. But behind the luxury was a subtle war, a war for their identity. The empire sought to remake them. Their names, once honoring the God of Israel, were replaced.
You are no longer Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. From this day forward you are Belteshazzar, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
They can change our names, but not our hearts.
It is an attempt to erase their beliefs, to make forget who they are. But Babylon not only tries to change their name, but also offers them a new way of life. The tables of the palace are filled with wonderful delicacies, grilled meat, wine, and gold cups of food fit for a king. But Daniel hesitates his mind.
The aroma of the food is enticing, the meat is well cooked, the spices I have never tasted before, but in my heart I hear a voice saying, "Don't do it." The king's dishes have been consecrated for his God ate from that table. Means more. Not just nourishment, but acceptance of the culture of Babylon's submission to its power. Look around, you Daniel. I thought you are alone. Your land has been destroyed, your people are scattered, but my God still reigns. I looked at my friends, I knew they felt the same.
They were offered the finest of Babylon's banquet. Roasted meats, exotic wines, fruits dipped in honey. Every day, the king's delicacies filled the air with temptation. But Daniel felt a stirring within. These meals were not mere food. They were sacrifices to idols. To eat was to accept Babylon's gods.
If we eat this, we bow with our mouths before their gods. Let us not defile ourselves.
Then what shall we do, brother?
We will ask to eat only vegetables and drink water for 10 days. Let them test you and let God prove himself.
After talking to everyone, Daniel went to the leader of eunuchs and made a request.
Please allow us to eat only vegetables and drink water for 10 days and compare our appearance with the other young men who ate the king's food.
The leader of eunuchs was afraid that the king would consider them weak, but he agreed. 10 days later, Daniel and his friends were presented to the officials. Their faces were healthier than the others. Their minds were clearer. Their strength was still intact. They did not need the delicacies of Babylon. The God of Israel sustained them. As the years passed, Daniel and his friends became more knowledgeable and wise. They excelled in the Babylonian court and were found to be 10 times wiser than the king's magicians and astrologers. But one day, Nebuchadnezzar, the most powerful king in the world, had a dream that troubled him greatly. The splendor of his empire did not bring him the glorious peace of Babylon, did not bring him rest. He knew that his dream meant something more important, something he needed to understand. But no one could explain it to him. A vision so terrifying, it robbed him of sleep.
Bring me my wise men, my diviners. I want them to reveal the meaning of this dream to me.
The magicians of Babylon stood before the throne expecting the king to tell them his dream, but Nebuchadnezzar had other intentions.
I don't just want you to give me the interpretation I want you to tell me the dream itself. If you are truly wise, you must be able to reveal it to me. If you fail, you all die.
The astrologers looked at each other. Never had such a request been made to them. It was then that one of the magicians of Babylon said,
"O king who lives forever, tell us the dream, and we will give it to you interpretation."
No, you must tell me the dream and its meaning. If you do not, all of you will be executed. But if you reveal it to me, you will be honored, rewarded with riches.
The magicians tried to excuse themselves. They insisted that only the gods could reveal such a mystery. But Nebuchadnezzar, furious, decreed the death of all the wise men of Babylon, and among the condemned was Daniel. Daniel sought out my friends and said to them, "Let us pray that the God of heaven will reveal this mystery to us."
When I heard of the decree, my heart trembled. It was not only unjust, but it was about to be carried out. The sentence had been passed. All the wise men would die. There was no escape unless God intervened.
He whispers,
Lord of heaven, the mystery belongs to you alone. Have mercy on your servants.
That night, as the city slept, heaven spoke. Daniel dreamed, and in that dream, the mystery was revealed. The king's vision, its meaning, the future of kingdoms. He awoke with tears and praise. Then, Daniel was brought before Nebuchadnezzar. This moment was not just a rescue, it was a declaration that no power on earth could compare to the wisdom of the living God. Daniel stood before the king. The court was silent, the air thick with fear.
Can you tell me my dream and its meaning?
O king, there is no wise astrologer or magician who can reveal what you ask. But there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries. And he showed me the dream you had and its interpretation. This is what you saw, a great statue standing before you, majestic. Its head made of pure gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron and its feet partly of iron and partly of baked clay. Suddenly, without any hand touching it, a stone was cut from a mountain. It struck the foot of the statue, and the whole statue was shattered. The gold, silver, bronze, iron, and the clay were all turned to dust. But the stone that struck the statue grew into a great mountain that filled the whole earth. That was your dream, and now, O king, listen to its meaning. You are the head of gold. Your empire is glorious, strong, unparalleled. But after you, another kingdom will arise, inferior to yours. Then another kingdom and another kingdom, until one kingdom arises, divided, weak and impoverished division, but in the end, God will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. That kingdom will not be like other kingdoms. It will not pass from one person to another. It will last forever.
Nebuchadnezzar looks at Daniel. He looks at the magicians and astrologers who cannot tell him anything, and then he bows to Daniel.
Truly, your God is the God of gods, the Lord of kings.
Daniel closes his eyes, silently giving glory to the one who reveals all things. From that day on, Daniel was honored in Babylon. He became the head governor of the entire province and the head of the wise men. But Daniel knew something the king did not yet understand. The chamber was silent. The most powerful man in the world bowed before a servant of God, not by sword, not by force, but by truth. Daniel, once a captive, now stood honored among the wise of Babylon, not because of knowledge or strategy, but because he dared to believe that God still speaks, that God still reigns. Yet the story was far from over, for even as the echoes of the king's praise faded into the halls, a shadow was rising. The pride of Babylon would not stay bowed for long. A statue had fallen in a dream, but another would rise, not in vision, but in gold, a symbol of man's refusal to be replaced, of kingdoms that defy the decree of heaven. And once again, faith would be tested, not in secret, but before the eyes of thousands, not in the quiet of dreams, but in the roaring fire of defiance. Would they bow, or would they burn? The stone has struck, the kingdoms have been warned, but pride never listens. Years had passed since Daniel interpreted King Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Babylon thrived, vast and unrivaled, stretching across the world like a golden empire. Nebuchadnezzar at the height of his power, but in the king's heart, the vision of the statue still lingered, not as a warning, but a challenge.
If I am the head of gold, why should my kingdom ever fall?
determined to defy fate itself, because if he was the head of gold, why should he allow another kingdom to replace him? The king ordered the construction of a colossal golden statue, nearly 27 meters tall, its entire body forged from gold, not just the head. It stood proudly in the plains of Dura, glistening under the sun, an eternal monument to his power. He summoned rulers, nobles, and citizens from every province to witness its unveiling. The air was thick with expectation and awe. A royal decree would soon echo across the land, one that demanded worship, loyalty, and absolute obedience.
This will be my legacy, my kingdom, forever.
The crowds gathered, trumpets blared, the king's herald stepped forward with a scroll in hand. The moment of command had arrived, the first test of loyalty in the shadow of gold. Then the voice of the herald declared in a loud voice. The herald's voice thundered across the plains.
O peoples, nations and the language, when you hear the sound of the trumpet, the flute, the harp and all kinds of music, you will fall down and worship the golden image which King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And anyone who does not fall down and worship will be thrown right into the midst of the blazing furnace.
The messenger's words had just ended. The moment arrived. Music erupted into the air, waves of melodies cascading over the multitude. And as if controlled by a single will, the crowd bowed, heads lowered, knees hit the ground, all except three. In the sea of submission, three men stood firm, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, unmoved, unshaken. Their silhouettes rose like mountains of faith in a land ruled by fear. Someone in the crowd.
They do not bow. Are they mad?
They are Jews, the king's stewards.
Babylonian officials noticed and quickly informed the king.
O king, live forever, there are certain men among the Jews, those whom you appointed over the affairs of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They have not obeyed your decree. They do not serve your gods, nor have they bowed down to your statue.
Nebuchadnezzar was filled with fury. He summoned the three young men. Gasps echoed. Whispers turned into outcry. The unthinkable had happened, and now the consequences would be swift. The flames had been lit long before today. Rushed before the king, the three men faced the fury of a betrayed monarch. Nebuchadnezzar's voice shook the palace walls.
Is it true you refuse to bow to my statue? One last chance. When the music plays again, kneel. If not, you'll be cast into the furnace. And what god can rescue you from my hands?
But the three young men did not flinch. Shadrach spoke calmly, his eyes steady.
O king, we do not need to defend ourselves before you. If we are thrown into the fire, the God we serve is able to deliver us. But even if he does not, we will not serve your gods or worship your golden image. We will never bow.
Their words cut through the air like thunder. The furnace roared behind them, but their faith burned brighter still. The king's fury knew no bounds. His face contorted with rage as he gave the order.
Heat the furnace 7 times hotter. Bind them. Throw them in.
The furnace roared like a beast awakened. Its flames licked the skies. The strongest soldiers bound the three and carried them to the edge, only to perish instantly as the heat surged out. The young men fell into the blaze. The crowd gasped. Silence fell. Then, something miraculous. Nebuchadnezzar leapt to his feet, his face pale with wonder.
Wait, didn't we cast 3 men into the fire?
Yes, O king. There are 3.
Look, why do I see 4? Who is he, walking unbound in the fire? And the 4th, he looks like a son of the gods. No chains, no burning, just faith walking amidst fire.
The witnesses look into the furnace, and it seems impossible that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are there. They are not alone. A light is walking among them, a being that no Babylonian can explain. And then the king Nebuchadnezzar, trembling, stepped closer to the furnace. The fire no longer seemed to obey him. It bowed to someone greater. In awe, the king called out,
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out.
And they stepped forth. Their robes are unscorched, their hair untouched. Not even the scent of fire clung to them. The entire assembly stood in stunned silence. The impossible had happened, not just survival, but deliverance. Nebuchadnezzar, once proud and defiant, now bowed.
Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. No other God can save in this way.
From that day, the king decreed that no one shall speak against their God. And the three men, faithful unto fire, were honored in Babylon. But while Babylon celebrated the greatness of this miracle, Nebuchadnezzar did not learn the most important lesson. The golden statue still stood, but its power was gone. In its place, a story spread of faith, fire, and a fourth man who walks among the flames. Despite all that he has seen, despite the dreams revealed, despite witnessing with his own eyes the miracle of the furnace, King Nebuchadnezzar's heart had not grasped the most important truth, that the power and glory he possessed did not come from himself, but from the Almighty God. In his heart he still believes his greatness is eternal, until a new warning comes one night. The king has had another dream, a dream that leaves him deeply troubled. Before him stood a mighty tree, growing in the middle of the earth. Its trunk stretched to the heavens, its branches spread wide, casting a shadow over the entire world. Birds of the sky built their nests in it. Wild beasts found shelter beneath its shade. All people were nourished by its fruit. But then a messenger descended from heaven and proclaimed in a thunderous voice,
Cut down the tree, lop off its branches and scatter its fruit, but leave the stump in the ground, bound with iron and bronze.
Terrified, the king awoke. He summoned every magician, enchanter, and wise man in Babylon, but none could interpret the dream. At last, he called upon Daniel, the one in whom dwelt the Spirit of the living God.
O king, this dream is a warning, but do not be afraid. There is still a path to turn back. You will come to understand where true power comes from, not from your throne, but from the Lord Most High.
This dream was more than a mystery. It was a trumpet blast, a final call to humility, not only for the king, but for the entire kingdom. For the pride of man cannot stand before the majesty of God. Yet the question remained, would the king listen, or would he continue down the path of arrogance and self-glory? The king sat upon his throne, his voice slow and trembling, as he recalled the dream to Daniel.
Chief of the wise men, I know that the spirit of the gods dwells in you, not mysteries hidden from you. Listen to my dream and tell me the interpretation of it.
The king continued to tell.
In my dream, I saw a great tree in the middle of the earth. Its height reached to the sky. Its branches reached to the ends of the earth. Its fruit nourished all living creatures. But then, a watcher from heaven descended, a messenger, and with a loud voice declared to cut down the tree. The branches scattered the fruit, just left the stump with roots in the ground, bind with iron and bronze. The messenger's voice rang out beside me. Let him be humble. Let his mind be changed. Let him become like the beasts of the field. and let it happen 7 times, until all know that the Most High rules the kingdoms of men and gives to whomever.
He wanted Daniel to listen carefully. His face became pale. He knew what the dream meant, but he did not want to say it. The message was clear and not good for the king. Then Daniel thought,
My heart was troubled. I wish this dream applied to the king's enemies, not applied to him. But the Lord showed me its meaning, and I could not keep silent.
Daniel continued, speaking to Nebuchadnezzar.
O king, the tree you saw was you. Your greatness has reached the ends of the earth. Your power is unparalleled. But the day will come when you will be cut down. You will be driven from mankind. You will live with the beasts of the grass. You will eat grass like oxen. Your bodies will be drenched with the dew of heaven, and this will last 7 times, until you acknowledge that the Most High rules the kingdoms of men. But your stump will remain with its roots, because your kingdom will be restored to you when you realize that the Lord alone is the Most High.
Daniel continued in a pleading voice.
O king, listen to my advice. Turn away from your sins. Do what is right. Have mercy on the poor. Perhaps then your peace will be lasted.
The king listened in silence, but the king's voice faltered. His eyes stared beyond the room. In his heart, he sensed that this vision was about him, yet the meaning remained unclear.
In my dream, that tree was me. But what does it truly mean? What will become of me?
"12 months have passed since the terrifying dream. Though Daniel had spoken clearly, King Nebuchadnezzar's heart remained hardened by pride. He feared the loss of power. He feared the call to humility. Warnings, if ignored, become judgment. But Nebuchadnezzar really did not change it. One golden afternoon, the king walked atop the royal palace of Babylon, a wonder of the world, built by his own decree. The sun lit the city below in dazzling hues. From its soaring towers to its hanging gardens, Babylon gleamed like a jewel in the crown of earth. The king gazed upon it all and declared,
Is this not the great Babylon I have built by my mighty power, for the glory of my majesty?
But even as the last word left his lips, a voice thundered from heaven, splitting the skies like a sword.
O King Nebuchadnezzar, your time has come. You will be driven from among men. You will live with the beasts of the field and eat grass like cattle, until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms of men.
And in a moment, the king's mind changed. His reason disappeared. His human thoughts disappeared. His hands trembled. His body bent down. His skin touched the ground. Nebuchadnezzar, the most powerful king in the world, fell down like a palace animal. The gates opened, and the servants screamed in terror, for the great king of Babylon was no longer a man. The days passed. Nebuchadnezzar lived in the fields. His clothes became ragged. His hair grew like eagle feathers. His nails were like claws of the beasts, and his food was grass from the fields of Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar became a new king whose heart reflected an animal. For until the time of prophecy was fulfilled 7 years later. One day, when the wind blew across the plain, something changed. He lifted his eyes to heaven, and in those eyes, once blind with pride, a different light began to shine humility. And it was in that sacred moment that he opened his mouth and spoke.
To the Most High, the one who lives forever, your dominion is everlasting. Your kingdom endures from generation to generation.
A beam of light broke through the sky. The chaos in his mind melted like morning dew. Reason returned, and his soul like a lost son, found its way home.
Now I know. The glory was never mine. It belongs to you, O God. All honor and majesty are yours. You do your will with the kingdoms of the earth, and no one can stay your hand.
And at that very moment, his kingdom was restored to him. His glory returned. His princes sought him out, and Nebuchadnezzar sat once more on the throne of Babylon. The palace of Babylon, once a symbol of pride, now stood still, as though the stones themselves paused to witness something divine. Courtiers, nobles, and commoners filled the central square, drawn not by royal command, but by reverence and wonder. There stood the king, no fanfare, no golden armor, just a man changed. His heart no longer chained by pride, but freed by truth. He stepped onto the highest platform, not to command, but to confess. He raised his hands to the heavens, and in a voice steady with conviction, he began, not as a ruler, but as a witness of the Most High.
Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise, exalt, and glorify the King of heaven. All his works are right, all his ways are just, and he is able to humble those who walk in pride.
His words echoed across the plaza, but more than that, they echoed within the hearts of the people. From that day forward, Nebuchadnezzar ruled with humility. He no longer used power to subdue, but wisdom to guide. And his name, once a monument to human pride, became a testimony to the transforming power of God. In the annals of history, his reign was remembered not for conquest. The years passed. King Nebuchadnezzar was gone. The great ruler who once commanded the world had died. His time of glory had passed. But Babylon still stood, shining like a jewel. Its walls were tall. Its gates were strong. No army had ever taken it. People believed it would last forever. But the seed of its downfall had already been planted. Something had already started. Something no one inside the city could see. A new king now sat on the throne, Belshazzar, son of Nebuchadnezzar. He was not like his father. He was proud. He was careless. He didn't remember the lessons of the past. He didn't fear God. But the king's pride went too far. Therefore Belshazzar said,
"Let us drink. Tonight we honor our gods and ourselves."
Far away in the east, a new power was rising. The Medes and the Persians, led by Cyrus the Great, were coming. Their army was strong. Their plan was bold. But inside Babylon, no one worried. Gates were closed. The walls, guarded by King Belshazzar, felt secure. Belshazzar laughed. He didn't pray. He didn't seek wisdom. He prepared a feast. While Cyrus planned his attack, Belshazzar planned his party. He called 1,000 nobles to the palace. There was wine. There was music. There was dancing. Everyone laughed. But above them, in heaven, something else was happening. A decision had been made. Judgment was on the way. The night went on. The wine kept flowing. The laughter grew louder. But the king wasn't finished. His pride pushed him to do something even more dangerous. Belshazzar stood and shouted,
"Bring the golden cups, the ones taken from the temple in Jerusalem. Let us drink from the treasures of the Hebrews. Let their God watch us now."
These were not ordinary cups. They were holy. Long ago, King Nebuchadnezzar had taken them from God's temple. They were meant for worship, pure, sacred. But now, Belshazzar wanted to use them for his party. The servants brought them in. The king, his nobles, his wives, and concubines lifted the sacred vessels, and they drank. They raised those holy cups and praised the gods of gold, silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone. They mocked the God of Israel. They laughed. Even a noblewoman joked.
Their God is silent, just like their city.
But heaven was not laughing. Suddenly, in the midst of the celebration, the room changed. The music stopped. The laughter ceased. The dancers froze because on the palace wall something impossible was happening. On the wall, by the lampstand, a hand appeared in the darkness. Not a person, just a hand, glowing with fire. It moved slowly and started writing words on the wall, words no one could read. Fear fell over everyone like a heavy cloud in the room. No one moved, no one spoke. The glowing hand had vanished, but the writing remained. Strange letters burned on the palace wall. No one could understand them. The king started. His face turned pale. His knees began to shake. He shouted,
"Bring the wise men, call the magicians, the astrologers. Let them tell me what this means."
One by one, they came, the smartest men in Babylon, but they were helpless. They looked at the words, they whispered, they guessed, but none could read it, none could explain it. And the fear in Belshazzar's heart grew deeper with every moment, until, from the back of the hall, the Queen Mother entered. She had seen many kings. She had seen the power of God. She spoke calmly.
"O king, do not be afraid. There is a man in your kingdom, a man filled with the Spirit of God. In the days of your father, he explained dreams and solved mysteries. His name is Daniel."
And so they sent for him. Daniel, the prophet, the man who once stood before Nebuchadnezzar. Now he stood before Belshazzar. Belshazzar looked at him urgently and said,
"Are you that Daniel, the wise man of my father? If you can read the writing and tell me what it means, I will reward you. You will wear purple. You will receive gold. I will make you the third ruler in the kingdom."
But Daniel's heart was not moved by gold. Daniel stood before the king, didn't bow, he didn't beg. His voice was calm, his eyes steady. He looked at Belshazzar and said,
"You may keep your gifts. I don't want your gold, but I will tell you what the writing means."
Daniel turned toward the wall. The letters still burned like fire. Then he spoke, not just to the king, but to everyone in the room.
"Your father, King Nebuchadnezzar, was powerful, but he became proud. He forgot that God is the one who gives power. So God humbled him. He lived like a wild animal until he learned that the Most High rules over all kingdoms. But you, Belshazzar, you knew this, and still you lifted yourself up against the Lord of heaven. You brought his holy cups to your party. You praised idols, things made of metal and stone. You have not honored the God who gave you breath. That is why this hand appeared. That is why the writing is on the wall."
Daniel pointed to the words.
"This is what was written, Mene, Tekel, Pi Arson, Mene. God has counted the days of your reign and ended it. Tekel, you have been weighed and found too light. Pi Arson, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians."
Everyone was silent. No one moved. The fire in the letters still glowed. It was not just a message. It was a sentence. Judgment had come. The king had been warned. And while Belshazzar tried to recover his breath far, then outside the palace, something was already stirring. The waters of the great river were going down, and soldiers were on the move. That very night, while the king trembled, but there was no time to react, so the end was already near. Because at that very moment the Persians were upcoming already inside Babylon. In the darkness, Cyrus the Great had devised a brilliant plan, something bold. He had diverted the flow of the Euphrates River the river that ran right through the middle of Babylon. And while Belshazzar drank and mocked God, Persian soldiers marched through the dry river, entering without resistance. No one stopped them. No guard stood watch. Inside, Belshazzar was still in his palace, pretending to be safe. But the kingdom had already fallen. The soldiers moved like shadows through the streets. The city didn't even know it had been conquered. And before the sun rose, the impossible had happened. Babylon fell. The great empire was no more. The golden throne was broken. Belshazzar was killed. The most powerful empire in the world crumbled in an instant, and the kingdom of the Medes and Persians rose in its place, just as God had said, just as Daniel had proclaimed for the kingdoms of men to pass away, but the dominion of God is eternal. The city that once mocked heaven had fallen in one night. No wall, no army, no king could stop what God had planned. And though Babylon fell, Daniel still remained, because those who walk with God are never truly shaken. Babylon has fallen for centuries, and the Persians now rule the empire. But Daniel still stood. Though kings changed and thrones crumbled, the man of God remained. Cyrus the Great, king of Persia, placed Darius the Mede in charge of Babylon. And even under this new kingdom, Daniel was honored. He had not fought with swords. He had not chased after power, but his wisdom, his integrity, his faith, they lifted him higher than any crown could. The city around him had changed. The faces of rulers had changed. But one thing had not changed. The hand that wrote on the wall still ruled from heaven. The kingdoms of men rise and fall, but the kingdom of God stands forever. And Daniel, now older than ever, would go on to see things no man had seen before. Dreams, visions, warnings, promises, and the hope of a kingdom that would never be destroyed. This was not the end of Daniel's story. It was only the beginning of something greater, because even in the middle of fallen empires and broken kings, God was still writing history, and those who trust him, like Daniel, will always have a place in his plan. Babylon had fallen, but the story of Daniel was far from over. Cyrus the Great now ruled the empire, and over Babylon, he placed a man named Darius on the throne. But though the kings had changed, Daniel, older now, still walked in wisdom, remained in his position of authority. Darius quickly saw something different in him. Among all the officials, governors, and princes, Daniel stood out. He was honest, wise, faithful. So the king gave him more responsibility. He placed Daniel above all the others to help rule the kingdom. But not everyone was happy. The other officials saw Daniel rising, and their hearts burned with envy and hatred. For when a man is faithful to God, there will always be those who despise him. The princes and nobles of the kingdom gathered in secret. The Mede prince said,
"Why does this Daniel hold power over us? He's not one of us. He's a foreigner, a Hebrew. He has been exalted by every king, and now he rules over us as well."
And the Persian prince replied,
"We must find a way to bring him down."
So they began to search. They watched Daniel day and night. They looked for mistakes, for weakness, for anything to accuse him. But they found nothing. He was faithful in every duty, just in every task. There was only one place where Daniel never changed, that is his devotion to God. The princes could not defeat Daniel through lies, so they came up with a plan, a trap made from the very thing Daniel would never abandon his faith. They know that Daniel is faithful to his God, more than he is to the king. So they use that against him. They went to the king with smooth words and fake smiles.
O King Darius, live forever.
They saiding,
We have agreed on a royal law. For 30 days, no one may pray to any god or man, except you, O king.
They bowed low.
If anyone breaks this law, they shall be thrown into the lion's den. This law will honor your greatness. O king, let it be written, let it be done.
Darius was flattered. He smiled. He did not see their plan. So he signed the decree, and according to the laws of the Medes and Persians, it could not be undone, unchangeable. The decree was sealed, the law was passed, and the trap was set. The princes knew exactly what Daniel would do next, because he had always done it. He would not hide. He would not change. Daniel would pray. After the law was signed and enacted, the whole city knew, and Daniel, he knew it too. Daniel heard the decree. He knew what it meant. He knew what it would cost him. But his heart did not waver. He did not alter his routine. He did not change his custom. And when the time for prayer came, Daniel did the following.
I went up to my room. I opened the windows facing Jerusalem, and as I had always done, I knelt and prayed. O Lord, you are faithful. I will not be afraid.
He didn't run. He didn't hide. He didn't wait until night or sneak away into silence. Daniel did what he always did, just as he had done every day before. 3 times a day, he prayed. He gave thanks to God. He sought mercy for his people. He remained faithful. And down in the street, the princes were waiting. They smiled. They had seen enough. Now, the trap would spring shut the moment they saw Daniel praying. The princes rushed to the palace. They approached the king quickly, pretending to be concerned.
O king, did you not sign a decree forbidding prayer to any god but you, king?
Darius replied,
Yes, and it cannot be changed.
Then know this. Daniel, your governor, has broken it. He still prays 3 times a day. He prays to his God and has violated your decree.
The words hit Darius like a sword to the heart.
Daniel has broken the law.
He whispered. The king's face turned pale in an instant. He realized, too late, that he had been tricked. The very men who praised him had set a trap. And now, the man he trusted most was in danger. Darius tried everything. All day long, he searched for a way to save Daniel. He called his advisors. He studied law. But the law of the Medes and Persians could not be changed. It was sealed, irrevocable. And as the sun began to set, the princes came again. They reminded the kings,
The law must be obeyed. Daniel had to be punished. There was no escape.
So, with a heavy heart, King Darius gave the order.
Take him to the lion's den.
Night fell over Babylon. The soldiers led Daniel to the stone pit where the beasts roared. The torches illuminated the hungry eyes of the lions. King Darius was there. He looked at Daniel with sorrow in his heart and said,
Daniel, may your God, whom you serve so faithfully, deliver you.
They led Daniel through the palace, down to the edge of the pit. Daniel did not struggle. He did not cry. He trusted. The soldiers pushed Daniel. His body fell into the den. The roar of the lions filled the air. The stone was placed over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed the entrance with his royal ring. And he walked away, silent, sorrowful. That night, King Darius could not sleep. He refused food. He refused music. His heart was heavy, and his mind was full of fear.
Would Daniel's God save him? Could anyone survive the lions?
As soon as the first light of morning touched the sky, the king rushed to the den. He ordered the stone to be removed, and with bated breath, he called out in a trembling voice,
Daniel, servant of the living God,
Has your God been able to save you from the lions?
For a moment, there was silence, and then a voice came from the darkness.
O king, live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent before him, and I have done no wrong before you, O king.
The guards looked into the den, and what they saw was impossible. The king shouted with joy. He ordered the stone to be rolled away, and there stood Daniel, alive, untouched, without a scratch. The lions, who had devoured many before him, now sat silent like lambs beside him. It was a miracle. Darius fell to his knees, and with a trembling voice, he ordered Daniel to be brought out. And when his enemies were thrown into the den, the lions devoured them before they even hit. The God of heaven had rescued him, but the story wasn't over yet. The king now saw the truth with his own eyes. He knew who had the real power. Not men, not lions, not even kings. That same morning, Darius gave a new command to all nations, to every person in his empire.
To all peoples, nations, and languages across the earth, peace be multiplied to you. I make a decree that in every part of my kingdom, people must tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed. He rescues and saves. He performs signs and wonders in heaven and on earth. And he has delivered Daniel from the power of the lions.
So Daniel prospered under King Darius and later, under Cyrus the Great. He had stood through the fall of empires. He had faced jealous enemies. He had walked among lions. And through it all, he remained faithful, because Daniel did not serve kings. He served the King of Heaven. Daniel had served many kings. He had seen kingdoms rise and fall. But one night, long before Babylon fell, God showed him something more. Daniel had a dream, a vision that would reveal the destiny of the world. A vision that reached beyond empires, beyond time itself. In a dream, Daniel saw a great sea, stirred by strong winds. From the waves, 4 beasts rose, each different, each terrifying. The first looked like a lion, but with eagle's wings. Its wings were torn off. It was lifted up and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and it was given the heart of a man. After that, another beast, a second, like a bear, raised up on one side, with 3 ribs in its mouth. The third was like a leopard, with 4 wings and 4 heads. And the fourth was dreadful. It had iron teeth. It crushed everything in its path, and it had 10 horns. As Daniel started, a little horn rose among the 10. It had eyes like a man, and a mouth that spoke proud words.
What do these things mean?
Daniel was afraid. The vision was dark and strange. These beasts weren't just monsters. They were kingdoms, rulers, forces of history. But before he could understand, the dream changed again. Suddenly, the beasts disappeared. The sea faded, and Daniel saw thrones set in place. Then, one appeared, ancient and mighty, the Ancient of Days. He sat on a throne of fire. His clothes were white as snow. His hair is like pure wool. A river of fire flowed from his throne. Thousands stood before him. Millions waited in silence, and the books were opened. Then Daniel kept looking and saw someone else, a figure like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He came before the Ancient of Days, and was given glory, power, and a kingdom that would never end.
He is the one who shall reign forever. His dominion will never pass away.
Daniel was overwhelmed. What were these visions? what was the meaning of the beasts, the horns, the throne. Then a messenger from heaven came close to him to explain. The angel spoke clearly.
These 4 beasts are 4 kingdoms that will rise on the earth. The 4th will be the most terrifying, different from all the rest. It will crush everything beneath its feet. From it will come 10 kings, and after them a little horn will rise. He will speak proud words against the Most High. He will oppress the saints. He will try to change the times in the law. For time for the laws, and for a time, times and half a time. He will have power, but in the end, the court of heaven will sit. Its dominion will be taken away, and the kingdom will be given to the people of the Most High.
Daniel awoke with a pale face. His body trembled. His spirit was troubled.
I did not fully understand all I had seen, but I knew this: the kingdoms of men will pass away, and in the end God will establish his kingdom forever. These things are sure, but seal them in your heart.
Daniel's heart was heavy. He did not understand it all, but he knew, and the kingdom of God would remain. Daniel had seen the destiny of the kingdoms of the world. He had beheld the glory of God's eternal kingdom, but one question remained in his heart. When would his people be restored? When would the exile end? And when would they return to Jerusalem? Time passed, kingdoms changed, but Daniel never stopped praying. One day, while reading the scrolls of the prophet Jeremiah, he found something. God had said that Jerusalem would lie in ruins for 70 years, and Daniel realized the time was almost over. So he turned his face toward heaven. He fasted, he wept, he confessed the sins of his people.
O Lord, great and awesome God, we have sinned. We have turned away from your commandments. We have been unfaithful, and so your judgment has fallen upon us. But now, O God, hear my prayer. Look upon the desolation of your people. Incline your ear. Forgive our sins and turn your face toward your holy city.
And as Daniel prayed, heaven moved. Before he even finished his words, an angel was sent, a messenger from God, carrying a prophecy that would shake history. As Daniel knelt in prayer, the angel Gabriel appeared, radiant, strong, with a voice like wind and thunder.
O Daniel, you who are greatly loved, I have come to give you understanding. 70 weeks are determined for your people to finish the transgression, to put an end to sin, to make atonement for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness from the decree, to restore Jerusalem until the Messiah, the Prince. There will be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks after that. The Messiah will be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of a prince who is to come will destroy the city and the sanctuary. Its end will come with a flood, and until the end. There will be war and desolations determined. He will confirm a covenant for 1 week, but in the middle of the week, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering, and on the city will come the abomination of desolation until the judgment is poured out on the desolator.
These words true.
Daniel listened in silence. The words were mysterious, but they contained the secret of the time of the Messiah and the revelation of what would come upon his people. But this was not the last vision Daniel would receive, for in the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a new revelation came to him. Later, in the 3rd year of King Cyrus, Daniel received one final vision. For 3 weeks, he fasted and mourned. Then, by the great Tigris River, he lifted his eyes and saw a man clothed in linen. His waist was girded with pure gold. His face shone like lightning. His eyes were like flaming torches. His voice was like the roar of many waters. And when Daniel saw him, he lost all strength. His face touched the ground, and his spirit was troubled. Within Daniel had seen the messenger from heaven. The radiance of his glory brought him to his knees, but a hand touched him and strengthened him. The man said,
"Do not be afraid, Daniel. From the first day you humbled yourself, your words were heard. And I have come to reveal to you what will happen in the latter days, for this vision is for the time of the end then."
He spoke of future wars between Persia and Greece, of a fierce king to come. He spoke of a time of great trouble, unlike any before it. But he also spoke of hope. The angel said,
"At that time, your people will be delivered. Many who sleep in the dust will awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame. The wise will shine like the brightness of the sky. But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Go your way, rest, and at the end of the day, you shall rise to receive your reward."
And so the visions ended, the beasts, the horns, the Son of Man, the war, the promise, all sealed until the appointed time. The book of Daniel ended with mysteries, still unrevealed, with visions, still awaiting their fulfillment. But with an unshakable certainty, God governs history. Empires pass, kings change, but his kingdom remains. And at the end of days the righteous will awake and shine like the stars forever. The kingdom of God stands forever, and those who are faithful, like Daniel, will shine like the stars, forever and ever.
If you've made it this far, I want to sincerely thank you for joining us on this journey through the series of Daniel. This project has required weeks, months of effort, dedication, and resources from our team. It has been a huge challenge, but also an incredibly rewarding experience. We did it because we believe these stories and prophecies are not only powerful but relevant to our time. But now we need your support. If this content has blessed you and made you reflect, help us by sharing it, give it a like, leave your comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel.